everyone, this is Vatran the Druid here, and this is going to be a basic Druid healing guide. And with this basic healing guide, we're going to go over very basics of how to play Restoration Druid from level 10 to level 60. While you're leveling up your Druid in dungeons and out in the world, I'm going to cover the talent tree, talents, abilities that are going to best suit you for doing healing in dungeons, because that is what you're going to be focusing on from level 10 to 60, taking into account that you're going to be doing Exile's Reach. It's important to have secondary stats all very close and similarity. You don't want one very high than the other. With having Mastery of Harmony, it increases your heals by 4.9%, healing for restoration heals over time effect. That's coming from your mastery. So the more mastery you have, it increases your heals over time effects. So that's what's important with Mastery of Harmony. What will get you more mastery is your heal over time effects. The more heal over time effects you have is your HOTS. One thing to kind of know if you're a new healer, and as a Druid healer, you're going to hear HOTS a lot. So HOT stands for Heal Over Time Spell. Throughout this video, you're going to hear Heal Over Time Spell, or HOTS. I will apply a Heal Over Time spell on this training dummy. This is a healing training dummy. As you can see right here, I put a Rejuve, not a Regrowth, then now a Life Bloom. I'm going to set this one as a focus over there. Haste is important to works with your casting time. The more haste you have, it reduces your cast time, and it also improves your ticks on your HOTS. So the faster they tick on somebody, which means more spells can be put on somebody. If you put a rejuvenation on someone, it says 2.7 seconds. But if you have more haste, it might reduce that down to 2.5 or 2.4. And then it would expire faster, which would require me to reapply it sooner. It would do the same amount of healing, but it would do it faster. And with Regrowth, I would cast it faster, and then it would still tick at a faster rate. So more haste, faster my HOTS tick, faster I cast, critical strike, chances for your extra effectiveness on your attacks and heals. Very great for raiding and dungeons. Mastery. Mastery is where you're going to get the increased effectiveness with your Mastery of Harmony. Where more mastery you have, the stronger your heals over time effects. The stronger your rejuvenation, your regrowth, your wild, your life bloom, your wild growth, your tranquility, even your snaring ward. More mastery, the better. However, the only time mastery is not as important is when you're working on gearing. So the higher the item level is going to outweigh the stats. So it's important to get the higher item level, because it's also going to have more intellect. So you want to make sure you're going with your intellect as well. Be all pretty equal. And when you're leveling, you know, up from 10 to 60, just go with whatever highest item level you get from upgrades. Don't worry about secondary stats. Let's talk about talents. Alright, for dungeon talents, your first level, or 15, you want to go with Cenarian Ward. Cenarian Ward is a very powerful dungeon talent. What Cenarian Ward does is protects a friendly target for 30 seconds, and 8 damage taken will consume the ward and heal the target for 6,309 heals over 8 seconds. Now that healing will change depending on variables, but you apply it. So here, I applied it. They take damage. That'll also heal them up. Now this counts as a HOT on the target, so that will help with my Mastery of Harmony. Okay, next tier down is going to be Wild Charge. Wild Charge is good to work with your mobility. When you're going in and out of your forms, it gives you different... Your bear form charges of an enemy and immobilizes them for 4 seconds. Cat form leaps behind the enemy, dazing them for 3 seconds. Travel form, you leap forward. Aquatic form increases swimming speed by an additional 150% for 5 seconds. Tier down, going to be a debate. I know some people are going to not agree with this, but for progression and doing dungeons, when you're leveling, go with Guardian Affinity. And I'll explain why. When you're leveling, you're not going to be the most geared. You're not going to necessarily remember or know all the dungeons, and you're not going to be switching back and forth between your different forms. So it's just best to stay in Guardian to get that extra 6% of reduction of damage, as opposed to switching from Balance Affinity or Feral, because you're not going to be more likely going back and forth between Feral and Boomkin form, trying to get that extra damage. Because doing the lower end dungeons, getting damage out isn't as important as keeping everybody alive in the lower dungeons. They're not timed, they're not pressured. Heart of the Wild goes with Guardian Affinity, gives you a little bit more of a boost to that. As it states here, Bear form gives an additional 20% stamina. Multiple uses in Iron Fur may overlap. Frenzy Regeneration has 2 charges, so it gives a boost to Guardian Affinity. When you're in a dungeon, you start taking a lot of damage, you can hop into your bear form, pop Heart of the Wild, take a little bit extra damage, pop back out, start healing back up. Next one is going to be Soul of the Forest. It used to be Cultivation, but Soul of the Forest kind of taken that spot, and here's why. Your Swift Mend increased the healing of your next regrowth or rejuvenation by 200%, or your next wild growth by 75%. So when you Swift Mend a target, by Swift Mending them, it increases your next rejuvenation or regrowth by 200%. That's huge. Just by Swift Mending somebody, your next rejuvenation spell is increased by 200%, or your wild growth is by 75%. That's pretty juicy. Next one down, 45, Spring Blossoms. That's going to increase your Efflorescence, and Efflorescence is huge for both raiding and dungeoning. You always want to make sure you put down your Efflorescence. So what Spring Blossoms does is applies a hot when people are standing in the Efflorescence. Each target healed by Efflorescence is healed for an additional 384 over 6 seconds. So it's just an additional healing in Efflorescence. Your level 50 tier. There's 2 different variables you can do with this. You have photosynthesis, which photosynthesis is what I would recommend you trying, which basically increases your healing of your life bloom, which is what I would recommend. You'd want to keep your life bloom up on your tank at all times. You get life bloom at level 21, so as soon as you get life bloom at level 21, that's going to be something you want to start practicing anyways. Once you hit level 21, you're going to be using life bloom. So it's just going to increase the heals of Life Bloom. What if you were to use Life Bloom on you, it will increase the healing on other folks. While Life Bloom is on yourself, your periodic heals heal 20% faster. It'll heal faster, i.e. more heals. The other choice, which I see a lot of people use, and I have used, is Germination. Germination basically puts 2 rejuvenations, which is also very powerful, but it's not as powerful as Life Bloom as far as passive healing. It is good for a healer, but if you intend to do Mythic Plus someday, start using photosynthesis as soon as you can, because I think it'll help you with learning how to get to a point in doing Mythic Plus. If you don't plan on doing Mythic Pluses, go with Germination. If you plan on doing Mythic Pluses and want to do Mythic Pluses, go with photosynthesis. Now to actually talk about the healing aspect. When you first start off healing, you're going to have 2 spells. You're going to start, doing dungeons at level 10. You're going to have your rejuvenation, and you're going to have your regrowth. First thing you want to do before you start going into dungeons is you want to get some sort of healing add-on. There's 3 different ways you can do this. You can get Healbot, you can get Voodoo, or you can go with Click and using Grid or LVUI or the default WoW interface. However, those are the 3 main options. That setup, And now you got your rejuvenation and your regrowth. So let's get started. So these are my teammates here, these trees, these healing training dummies. And we're in a dungeon. We're gonna heal these up. We're starting off, we only got 2 spells. Rejuvenation and a regrowth. Rejuvenation is quick. It's a quick cast, it's instant. Regrowth, it's a cast. It's a cast depending on how much haste you have. So just keep that in mind. And you have to be still when you cast it. You can't be moving. You can be moving and cast rejuvenation. So these are 2 main spells, healing spells when you're at level 10. You're going in a dungeon. What do you need to do? Okay. Always keep rejuvenation up on the tank. That's going to be the must. Okay, you don't know when the tank's going to be pulled, when the things are going to get pulled, etc. Now, just before the tank pulls, try to get your regrowth out on the tank. That way there's both right now on the tank. Tank starts taking heavy damage. You can then start spamming regrowth if you need to. Try to keep your rejuvenation at a 3 second tick. So just before it expires at 3 second mark, then go ahead and renew. What that'll do is help your mana conserve your mana. Because if you apply it too early, you're just kind of wasting your mana. And you don't want to waste your mana. A lot of add-ons will tell you, like Healbot, Voodoo, it'll have right on the unit frames themselves how many seconds are left on the rejuvenation. That way you know when you have to reapply it. Once you get to 21, you'll get Life Bloom. So now you have Life Bloom, Regrowth, and Rejuvenation as your main spells. And then you get Swift Mend at 11. So Swift Mend is a big heal that actually is like the only instant big heal. However, it does consume a regrowth, a wild growth, or a rejuvenation, but it has to have those on a target in order for it to work. We have that on the target. We're going to let it fall off. Here's my Swift Mend. Normally I use my... Okay. Now there's no Swift Mend. See how it's no longer lit up? I can't use it on that target. There, I just used it, consumed it, no longer available. And that's that spell is at 11. So that's a good one to have. That's your big spell, but it does consume a rejuvenation. So you still want to keep your rejuvenation on the tank at all times. And then you spread out your rejuvenations to the party as they take damage. A Druid is all about anticipating damage and trying to keep your rejuvenations out at all times. You're going to want to keep your rejuvenations out on the party as you're moving through the dungeon. See the rejuvenation coming down. Okay, yep. Okay, it's getting down to 3 seconds. Going to reapply rejuvenation. At level 21, you're going to get Life Bloom. Life Bloom is going to be kind of your spell that replaces spamming rejuvenation on the tank. You're going to want to apply Life Bloom on the tank at all times and get used to doing that, track that, and you want to make sure that you reapply it as much as possible right around the 3 second mark before it comes off, because what it'll do is it'll bloom. As you see here, it'll turn like into a flower. They call it blooming. It does like a big burst of healing. It doesn't always do that. There we go, it just bloomed. Also, another thing that just happened is called clear cast. I just got a clear cast. So what Life Bloom does, it'll give me a proc, and the proc is called clear casting. When clear cast pops, off, I am able to cast Regrowth for free, 0 mana, and that is because of Life Bloom. And that's why it's very important to keep Life Bloom on the tank. The more the Life Bloom is on the tank, the more the possibility for a clear cast, and you'll have a free Regrowth to cast. That free Regrowth will help with conserving mana. On top of course, those are your quick big ones. I'll go through the rest of the spells that you'll get throughout leveling. Cenarian Ward, Iron Bark, Nature's Cure, Innervate. You get your Efflorescence at 39, Wild Growth at 34, Nature's Swiftness. Okay, now we're going to do a quick demo. Alright, so I'm doing a freehold at level 11. This is a little level 11 dude. Druid. We're going to do this here with a small group. Just to show you that it can be done. You can take a Druid at any level. As long as you keep your regrowth, sun, and your rejuvenations on the tank, you can keep everybody up and alive, as we just did. Please hit that like and subscribe button for me, and we will see you on the next one. Until then, bye-bye.